Hi, third graders, and welcome to Module 6, Lesson 7. We're going to continue our work with line plots. On the last lesson, we interpreted them, which means we looked at them and gathered information and used that information. And today you're going to have a chance to actually create your own line plot. So similar to what we did with bar graphs, where we learned about how to use them first, and then we created them second, we're doing the same thing here. So let's get started. All right, so on this, it said, Mrs. Weiss's class is growing beans for a science experiment. The students measure the heights of their bean plants to the nearest quarter inch and record the measurements as shown below. So then we have a whole chart here with all kinds of different measurements, right? So we have 2 1/4, we have 1 3/4, 2 1/2, 2. There's a whole bunch of measurements. It's not put in a table. It would be more helpful to us if it was put in a table, but we have to just look at this and see. I'll show you how to use it in a second. Sorry. Our title is height of bean plants. And you'll see down here, let's see if we can get everything all in the same shot. We have, you probably might not be able to see this, it says 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3, and 3 1/4. Okay. And so what we're going to do is each time we see one of these, we're going to put an X. So for example, that says 2 1/4. So I'm going to put an X through it. And then I'm going to take that same X and put it down here, because we had one measurement so far that's 2 1/4. So X equals 1 plant. And I'm just going to keep doing that. So 1 3/4 gets an X, so I can cross it off. 2 inches gets an X, so I can cross it off. 2 1/2 gets an X, so I can cross it off. 2 3/4 gets an X, so I can cross that off. And 3 inches gets an X, so I can cross that off. Each time I'm making an X, that's showing that one plant is that tall. So far we have one plant that's all of these measurements, 1 3/4 all the way up to 3 inches. Now we have 2 1/4 again, which means I need to put a second X there. This is now showing that 2 plants measured 2 1/4 inches tall. 3 1/4, another 3 1/4. So again, 2 measurements now, 2 plants measuring 3 1/4. 2 1/2, 3, 1 3/4, another 1 3/4, another 1 3/4. So look, now we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 plants measuring 1 3/4. 2 1/4. 1/4 is the same as 1/4. We can use those interchangeably. 2 3/4. So notice I'm being really systematic. As I put an X, I cross something off. If you forget to cross them off up here, or forget to somehow show that you've used them, you're going to get really confused about what you've done and what you haven't done. 1 3/4 again. 2 1/2. 3. And 2. Notice I also made all my X's about the same size. I didn't draw any huge X's over here because I want to be able to look at this and compare so I can see what happens the most often and things like that. So now we have that done. I'm gonna put that there. And I have another sheet for the back here. And the first part says, how many bean plants are at least 2 1/4 inches tall? So the label, at least 2 1/4. That means everything that's 2 1/4 and taller. So that word at least, that means we're including the 2 1/4. You could see that a little better. There we go. All right, so we have how many X's for at least 2 1/4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I would say 13 bean plants. They say label here. I'd rather just write it in a sentence. So 13 bean plants are at least 2 1/4 inches tall. I'm not thrilled about the way they set it up. We work so hard on writing sentences to explain our thinking that I think that's what we should do here. Now it says, how many bean plants are taller than 2 3/4? If we say taller than 2 3/4, that does not include 2 3/4. That's like saying, how many people are older than 7? Well, we wouldn't include 7-year-olds and the people that are older than 7. So in this case, we're not including the plants that are 2 3/4. We're only including the ones that are taller. So 2 3/4 is right here. We're going to see everything that's to the right of that. So you can see that there are 5 plants measuring taller than 2 3/4. 5 plants are taller than 2 3/4 inches. Okay, let's go. Move to our next part here. Our next one says, what is the most frequent measurement? How many bean plants were plotted for this measurement? So the most frequent means like which measurement happened the most times. And so we can look here and basically like which one's the tallest, which one has the most X's. We can see that 1 3/4 is taller than everything else. It has more plants, 5, than any other measurement. So 5 plants were 1 3/4 inches tall. We can see that there's, it doesn't ask us, but we can see that there's 3 plants or heights tied with 3 plants each as our second, tied for second place measurements. Okay. George says that most of the bean plants are at least 3 inches tall. Is he right? Explain your answer. So for something to be the most, it has to be like more than half. So he says more than half of the plants are 3 inches tall or taller. So 3 inches tall, 3 inches plus equals 5 plants. Less than 3 equals 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 plants. So is George right? Are most of the plants or more than half of the plants taller than 3 inches? No. 15 plants are less than 3 and 5 plants are more than 3. So he is incorrect because 15 plants are less than 3 inches and only 5 are more. All right, and lastly, says Savannah was absent the day the class measured the height of their bean plants. When she returns, her plant measures 2 2/4 or 2.5 inches tall. Can Savannah plot her height? Oh, I kind of spoiled the question there by reading it the way I did. Her plant was measuring 2 2/4 inches tall. Can Savannah plot the height of her bean plant on the class line? Why or why not? So what we do here is we'd look and we'd say, is there 2 2/4 on here? There's not. We have 2 and 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4. So all of our 2 measurements don't show 2 1/4. However, or 2 2/4. Does 2 2/4 equal anything on our line? Well, we know that 2/4 equals 1/2. 2/4 is another way to say 1/2. So we could say 2 1/2 equals 2 2/4. And in that case, we do have 2 1/2 on the line right there. So Savannah's point would get put up there. And so yes, she'd put it at 2 1/2. And if you really want to impress me, you can say because they're equivalent fractions, they are equal. I'll just write equal, but you could say equivalent fractions. That would be really impressive. All right, and that's how you create line plots. So I hope that you are enjoying the work we're doing with data collection and using data and reading graphs and creating graphs. It's been a fun unit for me to teach, and I hope that you're enjoying it, enjoying learning a little bit more about it.